When I started medical school, I thought that the way to become productive was pretty simple. Wake up early, drink a whole lot of coffee, and study until you literally can't no more. And that was basically my entire strategy. It was until I was studying neuroscience that I realized something. Most of the stuff we learn in medicine about the brain, energy, and focus is actually insanely useful in real life. So I threw my old strategy out the window and implemented a new one based on science. So in this video, I want to show you how I start my day now and why I do the things that I do. Every habit that is being presented in this video is backed by neuroscience. So let me tell you how I start my day now. On the good days, and I mean on the very, very good days, I wake up between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. And it's not because I'm super disciplined or like I'm a crazy person, but sometimes my alarms wakes me up, sometimes I wake up before it. And for the most part, the alarm goes off and I stare at the ceiling wondering like what I'm doing with my life. The first thing is honestly pretty simple. So I head straight to my desk and find a piece of paper where I can write everything down. Every single task that I need to work on that day. This reduces the amount of mental friction and makes me just jump into work right away. It also helps me create mental clarity and actually remember what's important to do in that particular day. It's something very simple to do. Anybody can do it. It can literally change your life. So the second thing that I start to do is I start working immediately before my brain gets distracted. I try to minimize scrolling. I don't check social media or emails. I just head straight into work. And I know that for most people this sounds intense, but there's actually a really interesting neuroscience reason behind this. When you wake up in the morning, your body releases a spike of a hormone called cortisol. And I know cortisol gets a terrible reputation online because we associate cortisol with lipogenesis. We associate cortisol with stress, with breakdowns of amino acids, and you think that you're gonna lose your muscles. But in the morning, cortisol spike is actually extremely healthy and necessary. It is the thing that increases your alertness. It's what increases your attention. And it's basically a way to tell your brain that, you know, man, let's get started. The problem is that most people accidentally waste this window. They wake up and the first thing they do is check their phone. And I used to do this myself. This is easily one of the fastest things that you can fix and see a change immediately. If you wake up and check your phone immediately, your brain is now reacting to messages, emails, news, some good, some bad. And you're really like distracting yourself for no particular reason. Instead of directing your mental energy towards something meaningful, your energy goes in 100 different directions. What I try to do is capture that window, because the first 2 to 3 hours after waking up are often when your brain is most capable of deep work. And as a medical student, deep focus and deep work is basically the only way for me to survive. So trust me, I've tried all kinds of morning routines and this actually works. It's going to be difficult in the beginning to get used to it, but once you get used to it, you will feel a change immediately. So I try to sit down, start studying and working while my brain is still in like natural state of alertness. And once you start getting consistent with this habit, your brain start associating the morning with focus instead of chaos. So the third thing that I do is that I try to work out, whether it's running or lifting. After a few hours of work, I usually go train. Sometimes that means going for a run, other days it means lifting weights. And obviously, exercise is good for your body. But what most people don't realize is that exercise might actually be even more powerful for your brain. When you exercise, and I've spoken about this on this channel before, you release something called BDNF. BDNF is something that gets released in your brain, and it stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this sounds super complicated, but it basically functions like a fertilizer for your neurons. It helps neurons grow, form stronger connections, and survive for longer. And those connections between neurons are literally how learning and memory happen. So when you are exercise, you're not just improving your cardiovascular health and trying to get abs, you're actually making your brain better at learning, which is something extremely useful if you're someone who spends a lot of time studying, working, or thinking. Exercise also increases levels of neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. These chemicals play a huge role in focus, mood, and motivation, which is why a lot of people notice that after a run or a workout, the brain feels a little bit more clear. Ideas come easier. Studying feels easier. So for me personally, exercise is not just about staying in shape or, being lean. It is basically a way for me to optimize my brain function. Also, like after sitting and studying for several hours in the morning, my body feels kind of tired. So moving helps with that too. The fourth habit that you can start implementing today to get better health benefits and better brain function is hydration. So after I go for a run or a workout or something that includes physical activity, the next thing I do is drink a lot of water. And this sounds so obvious, but neurons in your brain uses electrical signals. And those signals depend on ions like sodium, potassium, magnesium. And when we wake up from sleep, we actually are a little bit dehydrated. So one of the easiest ways to improve mental performance in the morning is just simply rehydrating. So you can grab a big glass of water, and this sounds so obvious, but I have to still say it because it's literally a game changer. You can grab a glass of water, and sometimes if you are a very active person, you can put a little bit of salt in there and you'll be hydrated again. Number 5, which is something that we have to talk about, coffee. It's literally a game changer. One of the easiest ways to become more alert, to become more productive. The way that I like to drink coffee is I'd like to delay it for a couple of hours after me waking up. So let's say I wake up at 6 a.m. Then I will do my study session, and then I will drink coffee after that. And there's actually a good reason for it. Throughout the day, your brain accumulates a chemical called adenosine. Adenosine creates the feeling of sleep pressure. So the longer you're awake, the more adenosine builds up. And coffee, which contains caffeine, works by blocking those adenosine receptors. So you become more alert and you feel more energized. But the problem is that if you drink coffee immediately after waking up, you will be blocking the adenosine receptors too early, which is the thing that leads to a crash later in the day. So do you know these days where you wake up, you feel energized, drink coffee, feel even more energized, and then you experience a crash? That is probably what this is about. So what I do instead is, as I've mentioned, I wait for at least 90 minutes, 60 minutes before drinking a cup of coffee. This way I will get a much smoother energy curve throughout my day instead of like having an energy spike and then crashing. And then I need a second cup of coffee, which is just makes the problem worse. Now to habit number 6, and the final one on today's list, is that I don't eat immediately. And this might surprise people because we've always been told like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But personally, I wait with my first meal until like 11, 11:30, sometimes 1 p.m. And this is basically a form of mild intermittent fasting. And I'm not saying that everybody should do this, but it works pretty well for me. And there's actually a scientific reason that backs this. When you are fasted, the body increases levels of adrenaline. As I've mentioned before, adrenaline plays a huge role in alertness and focus, which is exactly the thing that I want in the morning. Now, I don't think that breakfast is bad, especially if you've been eating breakfast your whole life. It's difficult to just give it up. But some people function better with food early. Some people function without food early. And in my experience, I find that staying fasted for the first couple of hours is what helps me enter that deep state of focus. So my entire morning routine is honestly kind of simple. It has one goal, and it's to push my brain towards a state of clarity, focus, and, just a state where I'm sharp. Again, I've tried to make this video extremely simple. I know that there are other videos out there that has like more complicated stuff and they go into details, but I want to show you that you can start today with 2 or 3 of these habits and actually feel a change in a couple of weeks from now. And that was it for today's video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.